Mike's Daily Podcast.
Episode 1153. Hello, it's Mike Matthews broadcasting from Cafe Anyway, located somewhere in Podcastro Valley Mont. Possibly, I don't know, maybe, for sure. Today we are going to talk to Madame Rootabega, Valentino, Bison Benltey. Plus, it's the return of the much-loved segment called Ain't Life Grand?
Mike's Daily Podcast.
We talk about something interesting about life that you didn't know, about our collective history.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
That will enthuse and amuse. So it's always some kind of strange thing getting into my work. Today, there was something that happened because the manager is a jerk of the building. They decided to switch the security code to the front door. So when I got to the front door, it didn't open for me anymore. Yeah, so luckily there was someone else in the building that could let me in.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Because I had to be in the building at my work at 5 a.m. and it was locked, and
Mike's
there's a connection to all this
Daily
that has to do with yesterday.
Podcast.
All I was trying to do, my dearest podcast listener, all I was trying to do was take a little nap during my half-hour lunch break. My half-hour lunch break happened yesterday, and it was Monday, and I was tired. I just wanted a little nap just to close my eyes for a little bit because, oh my gosh, when you get to work in the dark, and then you've been at work for a long time, and then you go outside, it's like coming out of a movie theater, but like 10 times worse. Worst? I made delicious wurst today because I'm German, and it's so good. It's good to put on a piece of bread. You kind of need the bread with the wurst, the bratwurst, as it were. And it was just insanity, trying to sleep in the parking lot, because all of a sudden these three bald guys showed up in white vans. Three white vans, three bald guys. I'm not lying. Okay, one of the guys wasn't completely bald, but he had really close cut hair. But the other two were older than this guy, had the bald head and the gray goatee, which I'm not into that look. I would probably have that look right now if I grew my goatee out. I had a goatee for over 20 years. And in 2013, I talked about it on my podcast back in 2013. Oh, look, I just walked in. Hello, I come ask you, it's Madame Rootabega, and I like your clean-shaven face. You look like a bowling ball. Thank you. I want to throw your head down an alley. No, that's okay. Don't throw my head down an alley. That's one of my nightmares. Wasn't that a Toto video? With Pamela? What was it with all the music videos in the 80s and chain link fences and weird lights and smoke and hair? Women with hair with lots of hairspray. And the pink tight, what were those spandex pants or whatever? All I want to hear in the morning when I wake up is clear your eyes, Rosanna, Rosanna. Toto's touring right now. In the month of September, they're going to be somewhere around here in the Bay Area. And the current lineup of Toto is basically the original lineup, except, a couple of them died. Oh, look who else just walked in.
Hello there, Mike. It's Valentino, the parking attendant. I'm sorry I had to collect myself there after you were talking about the greatest band of all time, Toto. Day.
Yeah, Toto's the best band ever, and I'm Bison Benltey. Do you know that?
Mike, we enjoyed Toto.
Yeah, I guess so. You don't have to keep repeating that line. In fact, you can hold the line. Love isn't always on time. Yeah, so I saw Toto back in 2007. I had free tickets from the radio station I worked at. I had a bunch of free tickets. Nobody at the station wanted to go to Toto. And I'm like, are you kidding me? It's Toto. I tried to get my wife at the time to go. She didn't want to go because she was 12 years younger than me and had no idea who Toto was. So I went by myself. It was phenomenal. I got there late, as I am usually late. I was late to the musical, The Beauty and the Beast, at the local Podcastro Valley Church last week. So why not be late to Toto? And I get there, It was fantastic. Steve Lukather, who I once met after a concert in the early 90s, and went up to him and said, "Hey, you're like the best guitarist ever." Did a total Chris Farley interview type thing from Saturday Night Live. "You're the best ever." I'm so stupid. And he like just basically shrugged me off because I wasn't a hot girl in a tight skirt. So, but there was also at the concert I went to, David Paich, the famous keyboardist who's played on all kinds of music, all kinds of albums. He was on Don Henley records, Boz Scaggs records. He was not there, but he is touring now. And as is Joseph Williams, the son of John Williams, who is the composer of the Star Wars theme, and Superman theme, and E.T., and all the big movies of your life. Sci-fi movies, particularly. Jaws, even. He's the son of John Williams, Joseph Williams, and he sang on 2 Toto albums. I think it was Fahrenheit. That's right, Fahrenheit and the seventh one. Yeah, it had a couple of hits. Sang Pamela, and that's about it. But he's a great singer, and actually he showed up at that concert that I saw in Agoura Hills in 2007. And Bobby Kimball, though, was there, the original singer who sang Hold the Line and the high part of Africa, gonna take a lot to take me away from you, and all that. He was there. He still sounded fantastic. Joseph Williams and Bobby Kimball sang like together on stage. That was a great concert in 2007. Bobby Kimball is not on the current tour. Now that I've talked about Toto enough. But dang it, they had their mellow stuff that was totally made for, what do they call it, AM radio or sleepy, sleazy, soft AC radio, soft adult contemporary. Soft hits, as we used to say, and then got slightly aroused. But yeah, it was a wonderful time that I saw them, and they're touring now, so maybe go see them, even though Bobby Kimball isn't with them, but whatever. A couple of the Toto members did die. One of them was spraying bug spray in the backyard of his house in the San Fernando Valley and died. It was sad. And a lot of them came from the San Fernando Valley, which is where I came from. I grew up in Van Nuys, so I feel a kinship with them. Hey, back to the thing about I couldn't get in this morning into my work. It locked. I have spoken in previous podcasts about the strange homeless person that was living in our bathroom for a while. Yeah, I would come into work. I try and go and use the bathroom because it's early in the morning, and you need to do that when it's early in the morning. And I go in there, and it stunk of BO like you wouldn't believe, and there's a guy sleeping on the floor. And he's like, well, he's really, scorched by the sun. He's probably outside all the time, and he had his bike in there, and he doesn't bathe, and, it was all that. And it's pretty bad. And I told the general manager about it. He told the manager of the building, and they put a lock on the door so he can't come into the bathroom door. The bathroom door is locked. And now they've locked the sliding glass doors, but the pass key that's supposed to let us in through the sliding glass doors for some reason doesn't work. So luckily there's someone else in the building and let me in. I feel like was something else I wanted to cover. Oh yeah, the oil. So gas, I was passing by my favorite cheap gas station this morning. I didn't have to stop. I had a full tank still, but gosh, it went down like another 5 cents from when I just got gas yesterday morning. So it's dropping. Did you know that the oil prices bottomed out in January? But we're still having low gas prices. It's interesting. They're saying oil producers have to cut down the amount of oil they pull out of the ground in order to make everything equalize out. I love I always was like, why is gas so expensive? Why aren't we all complaining about this? And then the oil prices drop and gas prices go down, and then everybody in the business world is complaining. Oh no, this is going to turn our economy upside down. It's not. I don't like that. And that's basically it. Mike'sDailyPodcast.com. You can catch all the past podcast pictures. Oh, speaking of which...
And here's today's podcast picture.
It's a podcast picture of Basil the Boxer. Yes, he's eating an apple. My neighbor behind me that has the really loud dog that sounds kind of like this, that barks all the time, he has an apple tree that kind of overhangs over my backyard fence, and so a couple of his apples fell in my backyard, and Basil found one and was playing with it. And dogs, for some reason, like apples, so they like to play with them and then chomp on them and eat them. Which reminded me, I need to find a picture, not the apple eating part, but the picture part. I once went to Tuscumbia, Alabama, when I lived there. Tuscumbia is where Helen Keller was from. And I was watching a thing on Netflix. No, I'm not watching Stranger Things, because everybody else is, and I don't want to be on that bandwagon. I want to wait till everybody's off the bandwagon, and then I'll watch it. So I don't know when that's going to be, but whenever. And there are this show called You Live in What? And there's some amazing houses that people have turned, made out of like prisons and old schoolhouses. And there was like some kind of water tank reservoir someone turned into missile silos people turned houses into. And one of the houses was made out of a old some kind of department store in Tuscumbia, Alabama. A lot of exposed brick. I like to say the phrase exposed brick. That's my thing. And this guy, Robert Rauch is his name. He's a photographer from Los Angeles who, I guess he was born in Alabama, and he moved back to Tuscumbia with his wife, and it showed the amazing house he made out of this huge space. It's also his photography studio as well. And I thought, as I watched that, oh my gosh, I remember visiting that area in 2007 with my ex-wife. Tuscumbia is a neat little town. And it's so southern, and it has so much history. You can go to the Helen Keller house where the water pump is, where she first learned how to say water and all that, and that really sad scene, just the tearjerker of the scene that happened in the Miracle Worker movie. There is a little house. I didn't get to stop at the house. My ex-wife was like, no, I don't want to go there. That's too touristy. Let's go. I'm like, come on, we're all the way over here. When are we going to be right in this spot again? We don't ever come back. We never went back to Tuscumbia, by the way. That was the only time. We should have taken the chance and gone and see it then. But no, it wasn't about taking chances then. It's about letting the chances just sail on by you. But you should do the Steve Winwood song while you see a chance and take it. If I can ever find, I did take a lot of pictures that day. I have to find some of the pictures from that and post them in the podcast picture. But you can see all the past podcast pictures and hear all my past interviews with interesting folk, and also catch all the past podcasts at Mike'sDailyPodcast.com. And there's also a link to Amazon. If you click on that link at Mike'sDailyPodcast.com and use Amazon through that helps us out. And that supports us. And also there's the PayPal. If you want to support us that way, you'll get a special greeting from all the Cafe Anyway characters. All that at Mike'sDailyPodcast.com. And now, Matthew's News. No, wait. Ain't Life Grand.
Ain't Life Grand.
That's what I meant to say. This is grand, isn't it? The whole thing back in the 1860s, here in the Bay Area, one of those cool steampunk-looking dirigibles, blimps, was made and flown once outside here in the Bay Area. The one that Jules Verne movies and stuff. You ever seen a Jules Verne movie or read a Jules Verne book? The dirigible with like the compartment underneath the balloon that's got like some kind of steam powered propulsion system. That's maybe a compulsion. Maybe it's a obsessive compulsive engine. I don't know. And it has issues and it's got to wash its hands all the time. But I used to be obsessed with Jules Verne books, and I love steampunk stuff. I still have never been to a steampunk convention because they're too expensive, and they're usually on the weekend, and I can never. I've locked myself into a world where I work 7 days a week. It's my own fault. But yeah, that happened here in the Bay Area in the 1860s. There was an article about it in, what was this paper? The Daily News. And actually, this article is from like almost a year ago, but I found it yesterday for some reason. A guy by the name of Frederick Marriott created this amazing dirigible, one of the first ones. He assiduously studied flight for almost 2 decades before claiming success. This was in 1869, and the name of the dirigible thingy was called the Avitor. The Avitor. And you've seen recreations of it all over the place. One of the journalists that saw it, one of the skeptical journalists said, if Mr. Marriott intends going to New York with this Avitor, he said, we fear he is just as liable to end up at Cape Horn or the North Pole. Not exactly the most maneuverable machine ever. Most of the national... Oh, but the fact that they were able to put this engine... That they were to make a steam engine light enough to be lifted up by this balloon, which was filled with hydrogen, by the way, which is exactly the thing that killed it in the end, similar to the Hindenburg. Someone with a cigar got a little too close to this thing and it blew up. But that's interesting, isn't it? This was in 1869, and dirigibles were being flown in World War II in the 1930s. That's a whole long time from one, and they were still using hydrogen in Germany because they didn't have helium. We had helium here in America. Most of the national press didn't share the skepticism. Indeed, most were excited. Fanciful engravings of the aircraft appeared in illustrated newspapers across the nation and in Europe. Members of Europe's scientific community seemed to grasp the full meaning of Avitor's wonderful success, noting that such crafts might be utilized to establish communications in cases of shipwrecks. German engineers expressed conviction that larger machines capable of carrying both freight and possibly even passengers might well be constructed. News of Avitor's success prodded the prestigious Aeronautical Society of Great Britain to renew efforts that they had been theretofore unsuccessful in accomplishing. Whereas other similar aircraft would soon follow, the existence of Avitor was brief. The cigar smoking guy is the reason for it blowing up. So next time you see one of those dirigibles, you'll know a little bit of the story behind it. Ooh, on the other side of this newspaper, it says, before Trump hit the big stage, we had Arnold. And compares Donald Trump to Arnold Schwarzenegger. I can kind of see that. Isn't Arnold taking over Trump's old show anyway? So there's a connection there, but, you know, big celebrity trying to take over the spotlight. And then someone wrote, and mind you, this is a year ago, someone wrote this: Donald Trump is too obscene to be elected president of the United States, but wealthy enough to try to buy a nomination or put the puppet of his choice as the Republican frontrunner. Nope, you were wrong, Tony M. Villa of Mountain View. It says, what does it say here? The thrice married Trump. Oh, it says, wait, this is funny. Fortunately, there are enough intelligent and honest Republicans genuinely concerned about the good of the people and our country that this won't happen. That Trump won't become the Republican candidate. You were so wrong, Tony. Wow. I wonder if Tony enjoyed that plate of crow. As we go outside a cafe anyway, we're bringing Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcaster Valley. How was it, Tony? Caw, caw, caw. Was it delicious? Hey, I hope you enjoyed today's show as I crumple up and destroy this article about the Avitor. I want to invite you to have a great day. I hope wherever you're going that doors aren't locked and you can get through the doors. Because remember, a locked door is only a door that needs to be opened if you know someone on the inside and you can call them and have them open it for you. That's my philosophy in life. And I hope you have open roads ahead of you. In the Bay Area, I did not have open roads this morning, even at 4:30 in the morning. So many cars on the road. And people just don't know how to drive. I know I've said this many times in the Bay Area. People park in the most hazardous, illegal places, and they cannot drive. I don't know. I didn't grow up here. I don't know how they teach you how to drive here, but they don't. They have someone who probably, never drove teaching how to drive. That's my assumption. Next show, it's going to be the wonderful Chely Choehart, Floyd the Floorman, and John Deere, the engineer. Oh, look, a crow. Caw, caw. Shut up.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!